Let's go.
Yay. Hi everyone. Some of you have joined us before. Thanks for joining us tonight. This whole series is actually a lead up to an exhibition we are doing at the Jurong Library. I'm going to share our events page for now so that you can find us there and follow our journey. Okay. So a blip in time is going to be happening at Jurong Library from the 1st to the 14th of April. And what it entails is 12 women artists are dabbling in tech in the first time. We are collaborating with the library's Make It space to learn things like 3D printing, coding, robotics, and then incorporating it into our current practices. Today we have 4 artists here, Aggie, Xiaochang, Ling, and Cynthia. And all of them have started to dabble in this thing called digital fabrication, right? Using 3D printing or laser cutting. And you will hear from them that actually all of them, their practice are very, in their, how would I call it, very, there's a lot of craftsmanship in their actual current practice. So like in textiles, ceramics, and painting and all. And then how are they now integrating that with this new advanced technology that we are all upon us, and what it means to their practice and how they feel about this transition. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Aggie, yeah, who's quite a famous textile artist, and I'm going to stop sharing the events page and share her slides.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Agatha, also known as Aggie. I'll just wait for Veron to share the slides.
Wait, sorry.
So basically, my work as an artist is to connect people, the audience with nature, and to slow down. And a lot of my work involves, next slide please. A lot of my work involves taking textiles, found objects, and actually using the sewing machine, needle and thread, and various marking techniques to create collages and 3D sculptures. What I basically do is then, have them as installations, or they can be purchased as well as wearables. Part of the slowing down bit for me is that the whole process of creating the embroidery works is very meditative. I find it very soothing. And so a lot of times I've actually questioned whether it's useful to have technology as part of the process of creating these works. I mean, the sewing machine itself is technology. The needle is an innovation in itself. And if you look at embroidery work today, if you look at the commercial side of it, there are digitized embroidery works as well, using the digital sewing machine. So in this work that I'm preparing for NLB, I decided to look at how 3D printing could be used as a form of embroidery. If you look at the next slide, so this is a piece of work that I had done a few years back, and I wanted to see whether I could replicate that using 3D printing. So if you look at the next slide, this is a work in progress. And there are some limitations to the way the 3D printing process actually occurred during the 2 months. But if you come down next week, from the 1st to the 14th of April, you'll be able to see the work and also see the process that went behind creating the work. Thank you. So I'll pass the mic to Veron.
Okay. Thanks, Aggie. Yes. Thanks, Aggie. Yeah, it's very exciting. Like I've seen Aggie work, and then now, with what she's doing, right? What she's doing is sitting in front of the 3D printer, anxiously waiting to see whether it comes out or not. I mean, it is a different kind of meditation for sure, right? So, shall I now pass the mic over to Cynthia?
Sure. So, just to share in general, usually my practice involves inspiration from either daily habits or daily objects, like objects that you see every day or things that you do every day. So, this first example, first work that I'm showing you is exhibition at the substation. It's called While We Wait. It is actually a series of artwork that I create in the train. So during my commute in the MRT. Next slide. So this one is a process of me painting in the train. So I was noting down the colors of people's clothes. So if you're wearing red, I will mix a red color that I feel matches, and then I will stroke it down, and then the next person and next person. So all these data are collected and translated in the work. Then other than this is the there's also this if you see these big rectangles on the wall, there are actually photos of people's handphone screens. They are being magnified and blurred. I printed it out very big to make it look like a window, of the window. So this whole series is like trying to find the colors that we see in the train, whether the colors that we look at, because most of our train, right, the window is just black. Then the window that we see is our phone, and then the colors of people's clothes, and then even the handrails that I made in the picture, they're made of the colors of people's clothes as well. Next. This is another word. This is called holding breath. So it's very literal. It's basically asking people to hold their breath. The idea is to sort of a mythical theory, a fake theory that holding your breath will save oxygen. So I ask people to collect, and then I will, like, for example, you held your breath for 30 seconds, then I will divide it by 7.5 billion, which is the amount of people on Earth. Then it will result in the amount of nanoseconds that each person donates, each amount of nanoseconds of oxygen that each person donates. So in this photo is during affordable art fair, the process of making it, the process of asking people to come, explaining, and then participating. The next. And this is one of the results, how it looks like in the end. So these two works are more based on everyday experiences, the things that we do every day. Then the next work is something that is based on an everyday material, which is this one is thinking of making instant noodles. So it's in paradoxes the idea of using something that's supposed to be very fast and very instant and doing something that is very slow, that is leading to it. So the original artwork is actually a video. Then after in amount of time it becomes a performance piece. Next slide. So the first picture on the left is shown in Singapore, and then the one on the right is shown in Jakarta. So the next work that I'm going to share is a work that I recently did, which is what I'm going to explore in this NLB exhibition as well, which is a work called toilet paper. I think you should go and, rather than me sharing too much, you should go and see. But I want to share the experience of making it as well. So this was the first time I was using some mechanical parts, like trying to figure out how I do. And then next slide. So this one you can see that the toilet roll actually moves and rotates. So the toilet paper will go down and then it will go back up. And then if you can see the next slide, it's the wires, the very messy wires that I was doing. Since it was my first time, I used a lot of like duct tape, masking tape, just somehow pulling them together. So for this project, what we did is we used different things, which is we tried to use the programming software, so things will run smoothly, and then we try to use a motor and 3D printing to make the holder. So yeah, this is what we're trying to do for this exhibition. Pass back to Veron.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. And now pass the mic to Ling.
Let me see my slides. Okay, so I'm Ling. Yes. So the slides, yes. So okay, so I'm a ceramic artist by practice. Ceramics is my main discipline. Then so some of my works, most of my works are porcelain. Then I use the slip cast method and assemble it together after the slip cast. So we're on next slides. Then I did some wood carving also recently. So have been doing this for 5 years. So it's a new material for me. So I think my work is all about material, understanding the material. So it's also very material based. And one of the main thing is I like to do I like to do things with a lot of processes. I like to learn things with complicated process, and I like to use my hands to make stuff. So that's and I like the things that have tactile quality. Okay. So next one. Then so I'd say I do a lot of slip cast. So slip casting is actually an industrial method. So it's so you actually have a lot of slip cast things in your everyday environment, from the roof tiles to the floor tiles to all your bathroom things are all slip cast in clay. So but slip cast used in a artist studio, then you will have you use an industrial method and then you turn it to an artistic artwork. Okay, next one. And then I actually use a translucent porcelain, and then the translucent porcelain inside there is a LED. So I light it up so that this is actually is using the material, exploiting the translucency of the porcelain. Then in this tech show coming up, I'm doing 3D printing and translucent 3D printing, and then trying to maybe replace the porcelain with the 3D printing, and then we'll see how it will look like, because I've been doing porcelain, then I want to compare the 3D printed and the porcelain. So what's the difference between the two quality? And yeah, so you can see this the porcelains when it's lighted inside, you can see actually shadow, and its whiteness is very pretty. So I actually been standing the 3D printed artwork this afternoon for 3 hours. So yeah, so I've been comparing when I did the 3D printed cloud shape. Yeah, so these are some of the other ones. So when I did the 3D printed cloud shape, it actually takes 6 hours to print on the printer. Then I reflect on how long did I take to make this in cluster, make the prototype, then cast in cluster mode, then do in slip cast, then fire in the kiln. Okay, so the process is totally, the printing process is totally different. First, you need to know the software, then you need to fix the draw it out in the software. It's all very new to me. And but there's one thing very similar is the sanding. So the sanding is very very laborious and very tedious, and then it's also very monotonous. So your hand just keep moving and doing the same thing over time and again and again. So yeah, so I sort of find some similarity in between, and then yeah. So and then in this coming up work in the library, yeah, I also dabble a little bit with the servo. So and a little bit with the robotics, and then and we have a lot of help from the instructor. So yeah, without this is very new, totally new thing to me. So it is quite a great experience. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ling. Okay, now finally we'll go to Xiaochang.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Okay, so for me, my practice is across art and design. I was interior architecture trained before I went on to further my studies in the applied arts. So dabbling between art, design, and craft. Yeah. So I guess I kind of understand why Veron put all of us here together because I see a lot of similarity between our works. So very much like Cynthia, I also it's very inspired by daily life things. For example, like commuting. One of my series of works is also about my observations of commuters while I was commuting on a very packed train. So you see the one in the middle in the picture. So you can click onto the one below. Yeah, this one. You can click on the date and it will bring you to the page. Okay.
Pizza, right? Oh, this one?
No, that one is correct, but you click on the date. The
middle
one in the
one.
middle.
Yeah.
It's 9 years.
The next.
Oh, the next one.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm lost.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Click on the date.
So I click here
Yes, on the date.
on the date. Okay. Oh, right. Sorry. Okay, see, like tag dummy here, and then we're doing a tag show.
Yeah, so this series of work is called Please Love Singapore. It was done in 2012. So yeah, these are about this size, made out of ceramics. So the one on the right is that you see is a happy accident. While it was firing in the kiln, it kind of toppled over and hits the other pot next to it, which I thought it was a very nice accident because I was really talking about how packed the train is. Yeah, so it kind of works out well. Yeah. So I work with a variety of materials. When I first started making art, it was really ceramic as the main material. Thereafter, I started to explore different materials, such as wood or beading, different materials, but they are all mostly three-dimensional in the early years of my practice. But as time goes by, when you're making three-dimensional works, it just takes up a lot of space in the home. So in the recent years, I have moved to doing more two-dimensional works. Yeah. So the narrative of each work is very important to me. Before I decide on what kind of material I should use to express the narrative. So in this upcoming show, I didn't have a lot of time because I am working full time. So tech comes in handy at this point in for me because it will speed up the process, but at the same time, I didn't want to take it as an easy way out. I also want to challenge myself how I can use a simple technology such as laser cutting. I mean, laser cutting has been in the industry for a long time. Yeah, but I just want to see what limits can I do using this machine to create graphical works on paper. Yeah, so that's what I've been exploring. 2D as well as 3D. Within the 2D piece of material. Yeah. So hopefully I can finish my artwork in time. So do look out for it when you come to the Jurong Regional Library. Yeah, thank you.
Actually, it was very funny when Xiaochang you saying you're using technology to speed up, right?
Yes.
So I thought, because I was trying to replicate embroidery and I was using 3D printer, I thought that would be faster than hand stitching, and it turned out completely the opposite. So I started, yeah, the print took a long time. So if you recall seeing those the 3D printed embroidery on the slide, so one piece actually took an hour and a half. And then I reflected, like, within that, how long did that take to actually stitch something similar? And it turned out a lot less time. So yeah, I was quite surprised. Yeah, something that I hadn't thought of. Yeah.
But at the same time, when you were printing, you can actually do other things, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could be designing other stuff, and yeah, my hands won't be as tired. I suppose. I wouldn't have the stiffness in my hands. Yeah.
Yeah, but you haven't counted the time that it takes you to make the drawing file.
Yeah, there was, I think maybe Blip also, like, there's a lot of troubleshooting, right, initially. Yeah.
Learning all the
Yeah.
new commands, putting out circles in the software and arranging them.
Yeah, a lot of troubleshooting, just to get the right design that I wanted. Yeah, and then making sure, like, there wasn't a lot of streaking as well.
But yours was geometrical design. So the computer actually helps to align everything.
Yeah.
Rather than align by hand and eye combination and all that. So it's really entirely a different
It's a different. Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Or
Precise precision.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Shape.
But I guess the outcome will be different. I mean, if you compare like with
There's
hands.
somehow I feel there's a little bit of lesser hand making, hand making touch, And when you do something by hand, you actually get to the artist herself or themselves get to really hands-on first hand experience on the form. First hand you can touch it, but now if the computer is printing it, 6 hours, and then you're not like sculpting it. So it's really a very strange new thing.
It's less intimate. Yeah.
Yes. So there are some questions here. Ling from Tam, he would like to ask you, what are the most preferred materials for your interesting art pieces, having tried and tested with the various materials? What are your main considerations and difficulties encountered, and how you overcome them?
Yeah.
Your preferred materials first, maybe?
My preferred, I'm trained with ceramics. So ceramics is the longest material that I work with. Why I like ceramics? Because it's full of challenges. So it's really a very challenging material. But a young kid, okay, 3-4 years old, they can use clay to do something. But if you have the practice longer, then you make more intricate, then you discover more that this material can do. So I feel that this material is very versatile, and it can really, there's a lot of expansion, there's a lot of really push, you can push further. So it's not, it's not limited to just, just very simple teaching and then just, so there's actually a lot of technical skills that you can acquire, and I really very intrigued by tech skills. So anything that is skill based, I really I like to do. Then that wood carving is not easy in Singapore because you really need a studio, and I'm lucky to get a studio with the Art Council. So but after the lease expired, without the studio, then I think the wood practice will have to stop because it's not possible. And then what's the main challenge in Singapore is space. Yes, it's the space and the rental. Even if you have the space, you need the rental, and the rental is horrible, really unaffordable for a full-time artist. Yes. So yeah, it's actually a dilemma. You go and work, and then you get the money to pay the rental, but you don't get the time in the studio. And then especially my kind of work, it's really very time consuming. Just I emphasize I did wood carving for 5 years because you really need time to polish up all your skills. It's not like it's not fast. It's not a fast thing. You need your hands to get accustomed. You need your knowledge about all the different tools, and then you need your hands to remember all the photo skills. So it is really time consuming. It's not so easy like, whoa, tomorrow you can learn the skill. So that's the thing lah.
Yeah. It actually leads on to a question that I was thinking as well when I know all your practices and now you're going into this, right? So you have spent all these years like mastering this skill, and now some upstart who knows a software can maybe replicate this like very quickly, like if they are very good at computer and they can quickly do it, send it for printing, and then the result is like almost the same. How does that really make you feel?
I think there's a debate, right? It's always the digital versus the traditional arts. But I think for myself, I feel that the art, your art training is very important because you are trained in the art element so that or the art technical skills, so that you will know how to apply all your digital skills properly. So it's not just that you learn the software that immediately, you next day become an artist. Software can be learned in a month, but how about applying it together? How about all the stuff? So I still think the foundation or the fundamentals is very important.
I agree as well, because I think fundamentally it's the thinking behind of the artwork, the concept. Why are you using tech to create the artwork? Right. And I agree with Huey, somebody without the artistic sense will not be able to create a piece of work the same as yours. Yeah, no doubt he knows how to use the software, but it will never be the same, and that hand quality is different from something that is machine made.
Yeah, I guess also it depends on the objective as well. So if you're thinking of going, like if say for example, with my embroidery work, I wanted to go commercial, I think I wouldn't be able to do everything by hand. Like say for example, I wanted a collection of pieces within the next fashion show, for example. It wouldn't be possible. I would need to digitize and then send it for a digital embroidery. But then it would then I would have to question my values. Would I still want to do that for commercial needs, or do I want to pass the work to, say for example, an artisan who is very skilled at doing the work, and it imparts a sense of intimacy to the work. So there's always that balance that I question as well.
The human touch.
The human touch, yeah.
There's also the idea of outsourcing
your product to something else. It can be another person or it can be a machine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think for my work, I feel that I agree with you that the concept is the most important part. The way of making, I feel, comes after the concept. If a technology-based printing will fit into the concept better than handmade things, then I will go for the technology-based. I know that in my previous work of the toilet paper roll, everything is handmade, even the toilet paper holder is a cardboard party and sending lots and lots of sending. We love to torture ourselves. We love to torture ourselves. Then here it's a lot of, with the 3D printing is a lot of waiting. Waiting for the 3D print to finish and being worried whether after 6 hours of waiting whether it will succeed or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a step, but it's more of a step in knowledge. Before that, I didn't know the techniques of 3D printing. That's why I didn't go for it. Not because I feel that hand sanding is better. But now that I know, I want to try and then to see whether it is better or not than actually sanding.
Yeah, yeah.
Manual.
Yes, so we have a reaction. Skills from traditional training make real artists as compared to those relying only on artificial machines. So that's yeah. So okay, but it's leading on to there are two questions about software. So maybe that's something we can talk about now. For Xiaochang, what software you use for your art displays and what is most effective? And we also have Glenn who said that as a product designer previously myself, learning softwares and creating 3D objects in a software is a challenge. So how do you all overcome that? And is there any tips and shortcuts when doing so? The cost is a concern when 3D printing. As I remember, it isn't cheap years ago. So, like, what is it like learning the software and how do you overcome it? And which software do you find that it was quite easy for you all to pick up?
We did Tinkercad for the 3D printing, Flash and
I think we're all still quite new at this. We're still trying to learn as well. And yeah, I think when we were introduced to 3D printing, we were using Tinkercad. But of course, there's other applications like ZBrush and Blender and Maya and all these other apps that we haven't tried.
we are still at a very elementary
Infant level. Yeah.
yeah, let's see.
Yes.
So
But it is a challenge and it takes quite a lot of learning. And yeah, I think challenge is just part of this. It's not something that you can try to skip. It's something that you just have to face. There was a lot of YouTube videos. Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube
I
videos.
just read
Yes, YouTube is like the university of life right now.
Then I think Make It Space help a lot as well.
Yeah.
Especially the instructors, because they were experienced. I think it's a good way to learn, to have like sort of a mentor that helps you with this.
We learn a lot from each other as well.
Yeah.
We were also sharing tips.
Agatha and a community.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the whole point of this platform also is not like just for us to dabble in tech, but that we do it together. That then we actually help each other. We can see each other's struggles and give each other moral support along the way. I think that was the most important part of it, this journey. Yeah. So we still have more questions like Abby and Cynthia, but I think you can throw it to the floor. What inspire your art concepts most?
I think for me, it's a lot of things around me. either I think it's more thinking too much about something random, like whether it's instant noodles or toilet paper, like something brought it to my view, and somehow I I would think a lot about it. I think I like narrative a lot. I like researching random things a lot. This researching it was quite I spent quite a lot of time researching just about toilet paper or what how did it come from, how was it invented. So that actually inspires the work as well, and also the recent COVID popularity of toilet paper roll helps as well. So yeah, with the instant noodle also it was from being an overseas student. I'm from Indonesia, and a lot of Indonesian people like to do when they come to Singapore to study in Indomie. So this was where it was from. Then the MRT was from a lack of time, because that during that period I was working full time and I really wanted to make an artwork, but I don't have the time to do so. It looks like I live quite far from my workplace, so this 2 hours journey seems like a good time to do something. Yeah, so I think just being aware of the things around helps.
For me, I love textures, and a lot of the things that I see is based on my walks around my neighborhood. So my family and I, we always take weekly walks in nature. So we actually live quite close to the waterfront. We live waterfront, and we always go there. So every time we take a different route, we see different things. And what I notice is, for me, because my ethos is to slow down. So part of it is just observing what is there, what's different, take a different route and see things from a different perspective. And so I see, small things like mushrooms on the floor, moss, which is my latest project. Yeah, things like that, which I feel people tend not to see. I have a phrase to call people we have a lot of trees in Singapore, right? But we just walk past them every day without knowing that they're there, because either we're always on the phone or we're just too busy. So for me, that's just slowing down and just observing what's happening in nature is what inspires my work.
I think the similarity is observing, right?
Yeah,
that's what I was
yeah, I think so. I think so. I just tend to be much more observant, right? Like what Xiaochang.
I would say it's actually about observations for myself, really observing people, behavior, observing nature. I think being aware of also what's happening around us, not just within our own neighborhood, but community or what is happening globally. I think these are issues like that that trigger. I don't know, probably not just myself. I think other artists as well that trigger us to want to make something. Yeah.
I think as an artist, you have to be very sensitive for myself. I'm very sensitive to things happening around. So yeah. So that's how it goes.
Yeah. So now the door has opened for you into this world of digital fabrication. So Yiqing says, right, what are the main reasons, biggest satisfactions that will motivate you to continue to work with digital fabrication as compared to traditional methods? What would be the biggest motivation?
The biggest motivation is experimentation. Yeah, because through different trials and error, you know how the machine behaves, what you can input into the machine, how can you alter the process. I think that for me is the part where I would want to further to explore with technology.
Yeah, I think also, well, for me anyway, it's adding an element of interactivity with the art. Because a lot of times, the audience, you may want to have a piece of work that the audience can actually get much much more to it rather than just looking at it. So yeah, that would be something that I want to look at.
Then for me, I think I've been wanting to learn this thing for very long, and I'm very interested in what happens when you swap the traditional material that the 3D printed with the traditional material. Then I think embracing technology is not a very scary thing, but you treat it as a challenge. So either visually it's a visual challenge, or yourself in my own practice, it's entirely a different thing. So yeah, I think it's a very good challenge, and then I think you will somehow I presume I presume my work will somehow
Evolve.
Using this thing next time maybe.
For me, it's definitely the curiosity. That I'm very curious what it can do. Even after this work, there's a few things that I know I will want to try, especially with the programming software, and then the 3D printing machine, like what it can do, like how much can I push it. Because I feel that it's not as literal as just printing an object that you design. There's also the failures, like maybe if I put the heat too high, it will melt. But maybe melting will make it look more interesting. So this type of curious things is something that you cannot really make digitally, but we are using digital methods to make it. So that catches that idea catches my attention. So this is one of the examples that I feel that can make me want to do it more.
Hey, we have another question. I think it is close to some of our hearts. I think I agree as well. Climate change has inspired many good art from artists globally. Does this apply to Singapore artists more lately? What do you think? Climate change is always on my mind. Yes. So my work is about climate change. But what about you?
I think it's individual. I don't think I can answer for like
All
Singapore
artists, right?
in general.
But for yourself,
Yeah.
or your
Because-
observations?
Yeah, I think if you ask generally, you need a survey and stuff, which no one has done. But yeah, it does sort of make way into my work, even though it's not the main concept of my work. It does sometimes crawl in one way or another.
It's more like we will be more conscious towards our practice, as not to overdo or overspend all the for myself, my work is not related to the environmental issues, but when we do the firing in the kiln, I tend to want to pack the kiln tightly, so not loose, just one or two pieces put inside, then you on the fire. So in that way, you are being environmental conscious, because you are using the electricity to fire, and then electricity consumption will lead to pollution and all that. So it's not the concept of the artwork, but it's the practice and the discipline behind when you are handling stuff, you're recycling things, you are more conscious to using energy and all that.
I think that in general, artists do tend to minimize buying new materials, because we do share a lot of resources. Yeah.
I'm not particularly directly, but Cynthia saying doing work that is got to do straight in the face about sustainability. But I think it's really down to the very little actions that in your daily life that you do. You switch on the lights, do recycling, reuse things, reuse plastic and you don't take plastic bags from the supermarket. I think all these little actions, it's what contributes to climate change. It's not just so these little things adds up if each of us individually does do our part.
So we also have a Idiot here. She says she's a knots craft practitioner. So Singaporeans are not as appreciative of traditional handmade arts and crafts as people from countries with deeper cultural roots. Some art forms are less popular and not all have training available. Most of us are not expecting to get rich with our crafts. Yeah. So obviously we understand, but often it is a struggle even feeding ourselves. What advice can you ladies give to help retain diversity in your arts before they give in to the pressures of life and give up their art? Good question. What have made you guys persevere in this art scene, this arts community, for as long as you have?
There's this quote by Tracy Emin. Just take note, Tracy Emin is very, very, very rich because of her artwork. But her quote was, if she wanted to be rich, she wouldn't have done art. Yeah, so it was accident sort of that her works became very expensive. But to me, it's more of a life fulfillment. I feel that it's something that I want to do, I need to do it. That I do it. Whether it is I would have to find other jobs to sustain myself, or whether it's really selling selling works that more people will like to be able to make money out of it. I feel that art on its own is something that I need to do for myself.
It feeds your soul.
Yes,
right?
it feeds
Yeah.
it feeds my mental health.
Yes.
It feeds my being.
Yeah.
So that's why I can continue doing it, even though as I said last time, I was having full-time job and I had no time to do, but I had to do it. There's something that makes me feel like I have to do it.
I always want to give up doing art, because it's like it's like a very, you cannot see a very precise future. Yeah, especially I've been teaching for many years. Then it's a stable income and well-to-do living standard. After I become a full-time artist, I see my life spiral downwards. So there's only one occupation in this world that is this case. So this is the true artist. So there's during the open studio, people come into my studio and say, "Oh, artists must have a very romantic, they have a very romanticized vision of being artist." This person says that, "I want to give up being an accountant and become an artist." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, after you give up being an accountant, you will lose your car, your condo, your everything." So it's reality. So I have this first-handed reality slap in my face. So I always have this love-hate relationship of being an artist. But like Cynthia say, is really you cannot give up because there's something really maybe emotionally you need it, or inside you really need to do art. And
I'm sorry. Okay. But there's always this romantic view of an artist, like you just go into the studio and then that's it,
And no boss.
And no boss. Yeah.
Nobody
But
dictates
you are your own boss, you see.
No salary. You're your own boss. That means nobody gives you a salary monthly.
But the thing is that I realized like after being an artist for just a few years, not as long as all of you, I think maybe we have to turn it around and think of ourselves as running our own business rather than just making and then that's it. And I think that's probably what needs to be done. Although I don't want to work, like if we all think of it ourselves as an artist and a business, then maybe things would be better.
Yeah,
That's my view, yeah.
just to say out, it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's not impossible to make art like full time and earn money from it. There's quite a number of Singaporean artists who have done it. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy. It's really difficult, but it's definitely possible. And it's not something you can just decide one day and jump into. Sometimes it takes a lot of years of conversion.
Yeah.
Converting from like being one thing then to be an artist. There's this middle area where you are doing both, too much of one side or the other, then you are struggling to find time for both, and then to become that just this artist. Yeah. So it's we're not trying to say that it's not possible. We're just saying maybe it's difficult and it does require a lot of dedication.
Yes.
A lot of time.
Yeah, I guess you can say it's not a sprint, it's like a marathon.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we do have a question from our own Eunice.
Yay.
What would you guys say about tech for tech's sake critique, where artists are adopting tech just because it's available or just because NAC gives grant? Tech initiatives.
I think if it's really your interest, if you really are interested in like tech, then why not do it? Like there's a lot of artists who've been dealing with the concept of technology for years. Like
I guess it's to improve.
Stella, Stella have been doing a lot of technology-based stuff that is really purely for the idea of pushing technology and pushing the idea of privacy in technology. So yeah, I feel if it's really your interest, then why not?
What if it's not? So what you need to say, what if it's not, but you die must use digital tech?
Are you talking about yourself?
Nobody twisted anyone in this show. I have to say that once.
I don't know anyone who done that. I wouldn't be happy. It's like working. It's like working
Just
at
for
a
the
job.
grant.
Yeah. It's like working at a job that you hate.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you stay in a job that you hate just for grants?
Definitely not me.
Are we asking Eunice? Are we asking Eunice this question?
Yeah, Eunice, we should ask you back this question.
Yeah.
Would you like to turn your screen on? So, anyway, there's 5 minutes left. Is there anyone who has questions for artists in the room here? Any more questions that you might have? And I must say, thanks Sam for the encouragement. He's saying, for me to keep my dream of making works about climate change, and maybe one day the world will get better. I believe that. Yeah. So, any other questions before we close for the day?
Okay, if not, then maybe Veronica, can you just do a shout out to the show once more?
Yes. Okay. Let's get back to the show. All right. So now, yes, please look for us at the events page of Blip in Time, and click interested to keep updates about our progress. So I'll keep uploading photos, I'll keep uploading our work in progress so they can see our whole journey. So we hope to see you in the Jurong Library in April. And if you would like to have small tours by the artists to see the exhibits, please just leave me a message. You can find me also on the events page. Is that all for now? Okay. Thank you everyone who joined us today.
Okay.
Bye.
See you at the show, yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna stop the recording.
Yes. Okay.